What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a NHL DFS puck drop today. It is Wednesday, March 31st, right? Yeah, Wednesday, March 31st. So we have a 6:30 Central lock. We are going to be breaking down the NHL slate. I'm going to kind of walk you through my process, some of the values that are sticking out to me now, some of my favorite plays, and obviously you'll need to take a look at line rushes and things as it gets closer to lock. Last night's slate was kind of a disaster, honestly. I had too much Carolina. McDavid, I think, ended with 0 or 1 shot on goal, something crazy like that. Ovi was a bust. So let's just move on to this slate, right? So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to start out on the FantasyLabs page. It's kind of where I start my research typically. And I think it's a great tool, a great free tool to use when you're starting out as well. So we do have the Flyers and the Flyers, Avalanche, and Golden Knights coming in with the 3 highest implied totals. The Avalanche, minus 280 favorite. So they're the biggest favorite of those. We know that Buffalo's defense has been awful this year. So I don't know. I mean, I think you're going to use these 3 teams to probably target. Obviously, Toronto is on a slate, so you have to consider AUSTON Matthews, who's leading the league in goals. But what I don't love that I'm seeing here, and this is kind of part of my process too, right? But I'll check back as the day goes on and as I continue my research. But the game here with Colorado and Arizona opened as a 6 total and has already moved to a 5.5. So definitely, they do think that game is going to be a little bit more low scoring. We don't have any 6.5s on the slate, and obviously, when they are minus 280, they're expecting still that the Avalanche could be the team that's going to score, at least 3 to 4 goals of that 5.5 total. So definitely can still get there. Some of the pricing adjustments by Draftkings we'll talk about here in a little bit are going to make it a little bit more difficult in a couple ways. But let's get to the slate. If you're new to the channel, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoy our free content that we have for basically every sport. And we're going to have even more here for MLB. I'll probably be doing some showdown MLB for some primetime games, kind of similar to what I did for the NFL content. But I enjoy getting into those niche showdown slates as well. Just like I like those types of slates too here for NHL as well. So center position, it's going to be one of those top heavy slates. People might try to jam in Matthews and MacKinnon, and I can't argue against it. Matthews still presents an insane shot floor. Obviously, leads the league in goals, and yeah, I mean, people kind of got off of him after these 3 games, and I can say I'd be part of that too, where it's just felt like there was a lot of really good spots for him, and it would just wasn't converting. And even the last game that he scored the goal in overtime, where Toronto came back. It's just that. Excuse me, I don't remember which one it was. If it was the 4-3 or 3-2 game, yeah, it would have been the game they won. Yeah, the 4-3 game where he had 27 DK, 7 shots on goal, had the assist, but had the game-winning goal as well in overtime. So, I mean, Austin Matthews is going to get there more times than not. So it all kind of depends on what equity are you giving up, to get there? Is the value good enough to play both of these guys? Or do you think Colorado at home is in such a better spot that you just stack line 1 Colorado? They are playing like they did last year in that run where Sharks were just stacking all 3 of them. So Nathan MacKinnon's price is 9,000, 7 shots on goal in the last game, 2 assists. Honestly, he is due to have the goals coming, right? He had that spurt there with 4 in a row, but I mean, I think this guy's gotten incredibly unlucky with the goals happening, because we know he just creates so many high danger chances and he puts a lot of pucks on net. So I think the margins are going to be thin between Matthews and MacKinnon. If they use a couple tiebreakers, you could say MacKinnon's at home. You could say Matthews is probably going to have the higher paced game. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. Or you play both, and then you kind of split your exposure to those teams. So Couturier at 6,500, I think, is definitely in play. As Philadelphia has like the highest implied total, I just don't see a lot of people getting to this spot unless they, are fading both of the studs at the top, or maybe fading one and punting a lot other places. But he's definitely been consistent, playing over 20 minutes of ice almost every single game. So I like Couturier here at 6,500. I don't think he's really overpriced. But after that, I'm like ignoring a lot of these guys. Scheifele's really goal assist dependent, so I guess he could get there in a high paced game with Toronto if that actually happens. Right? We have a lot of these games with Toronto that we just expect to be like high paced, and then they don't turn out that way. Kadri, 5,800 has been like on a cold streak here after he was on like heater for a while, and part of that might be just obviously coming back down to earth a little bit, but a lot of those goals being scored on that top line definitely take away some of the scoring for someone like him. I definitely think you can consider Calgary here against Vancouver, even on the road. I think this is a great matchup for them. Kevin Hayes at 5,500 would be, you're getting $1,000 discount from somebody like Sean Couturier. I think Couturier is a lot more consistent in terms of floor. So that's why I really like him. And I think that's kind of built into his price tag. Couture, Logan Couture, 5,400. I prefer Minnesota here, even not just as a homer. I just prefer Minnesota in this matchup. But Monahan, Carlson, Hurdle, Backlund, they're all kind of in that mid range that are all viable. But no one like absolutely sticks out to me as somebody I want to play. Dubois at 4K is fine. Hartman's been playing decent, 3,700. RASK at 3,200 is going to be in top 6 role. Just doesn't like provide a ton of floor. Obviously, look at that. Like, he's still getting the time on ice, but he's got like 0 floor, right? Yost, I think, scored in his last game. Other than that, doesn't really have a lot of floor either, typically. Usually on the third line, too. Nolan Patrick, wherever he decides to line up tomorrow, I think he could be in play. Brassard could be a punt. Cody Glass getting sent down to the taxi squad. So he is out of play tomorrow. Let's go to the winger position. Mitch Marner, 8,200, is 15 or more, I think, in his last 3 games. Again, this is where you could get you could go Matthews at center and Marner at winger to pair those two up. You could go MacKinnon and Rantanen. You could go MacKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog. I think, and this is kind of where I get to like Packy Ready. Like, I kind of just look over him too often, right? If the game's going to go to overtime and Vegas is in overtime, he will score the game winner. I don't know how many game winners he has this year. Right here. His goal is his 4th overtime snipe this season and 5th game winner. Like, anytime I see Vegas going to OT, it's like, oh, Patches is going to win it for him. And he does, right? And he's already got like either an assist or a goal or like the 5 shot on goal bonus, like going into that overtime. So it just like creates that ceiling game for him, which is awesome. I think Landeskog has been phenomenal lately, right? And has created a lot of high danger chances for this top line, and has honestly been one of the reasons that they've come back and been so successful. But in the long run, Rantanen definitely has a higher ceiling, a higher shot on goal floor. So I think when they're only 400 away, if I'm going to play like MacKinnon and Rantanen, or MacKinnon and one other piece, I think from that line, then I think I prefer Rantanen when they're this close. I think playing all 3 is firmly in play. And I think that stack will be pretty popular tomorrow, because I think it's still reasonable until you get Rantanen into that 8K range. Kind of like the mid-range here, I'm not super thrilled about much. You can go JVR, Kaprizov, I like still. Marshall seems too expensive. Wheeler's okay. Fiala, 5,600, I think will turn it around. I had a big game with a goal and an assist against San Jose in the last time, but we just know long-term, at least in the last year and a half, he's been performing a lot better than what he has recently. And in a matchup with San Jose is really good. And are we going to see Dubnyk in net tomorrow night? Whoops. I'm hoping we get Dubnyk in net. That'd be some good little narrative since he played for the Wild for so long. Oh, sorry about that. swipe right, swipe left, and we all of a sudden are going forward and backwards here. So, moving down here, like I said, the mid range, I'm just not that thrilled about. TKACHUK seems kind of cheap at 5,900, just because we know that he has upside, but just Calgary in general hasn't been able to score a lot of goals recently. So until the one game that I played, the Jets goalie against them, then they just decide to go off. But Johnny Gaudreau, 5,300. That's the game. Yeah, that's the game right there. No, the 327 game I did, but so Zach Hyman, you can get. I think he'll be skating with Matthews tomorrow. If not, Check, might be on the second line with Tavares. Reinhart's been in really good form. Taylor Hall, I can't believe his price is 4,400. That's just insane. Riley Smith, you want to check the lines, but he was on the top power play in the last game. So that would definitely boost his value. I think Voracek is really nice at 4K. Hasn't had like the best season, but typically a guy that's going to like get, 15 to 18 minutes of ice time is always been an assist machine. So I think I like him quite a bit at 4K. Donskoy as well has been playing really well recently. He's getting like upper teens minutes, so I like him. LeBlanc has been really important for San Jose. Stastny, Olofsson, like this range I really like. Kessel, obviously. How do you not mention Kessel in the form he's in with 5 goals in his last 3 games? Obviously, this matchup is more difficult than the one with San Jose. Somebody in our Discord, I think it was Coy's, just kind of like made a comment about like Kessel's gained so much weight since his prime in Pittsburgh. But all he's got to do, right, is just like sit at the dot and just snipe, so he can still get there. Athanasiou, Doobie, Nishkinen, a lot of these guys' value is going to be tied to where they line up with morning skate. Marcus Johansson, though, has been skating with Fiala, I believe. And since kind of like returning to the fold, is that the ice time is nice. He's getting shots on goal. He's got goals in his last 2 games. For 2,800, I don't think you can argue against that too much. Let's go to defense. There's some really nice value, I think, at the defender position. SHEA THEODORE, 6,300, is kind of getting back into that form. Again, Pietrangelo has been out. We're still not seeing the shot on goal like consistency. We're seeing some of the upside games you see there with a 6 and a 6 and a 4, but I'd prefer to see a little bit more consistency when I'm paying that kind of price tag. Cale Makar at home, so many power plays and being able to control the line rushes, and when he's out there with that top line, just boosts his value a ton, in my opinion. I think 5,700 is way too cheap, and it's a way to get exposure to Colorado 1, Colorado power play 1. So I think you could use like MacKinnon, Rantanen, Makar really easily. So I like that stack there. Brent Burns, 5,500 is insane, right? But I think he's even listed on power play 2 the last I saw. Still going to play tons of ice time, still going to do the things Brent Burns does, but he's just not shooting as much as he normally does. So that takes some of that floor away. Moving down here, don't play Shane Gostisbehere. He has been waived from the team. Scooting down here a little bit further, Noah Hampinen, I know, has been, a popular tout by kind of the industry. I've seen a lot of tweets and stuff about him. Just generated a lot of shots, been on the top power play, but Giordano did get that spot back. So he would kind of be a fade for me at that point. And this mid-range is just all kind of like has a little bit of floor, but you're kind of guessing for a ceiling on these guys. Even Hamonic has kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but Erik Karlsson at 4,100, I think you definitely have to consider playing him. I think the price tag is just too cheap, even if you take out the last game, which I know he had, I think the overtime winner, or maybe it was, I don't even know if it was an overtime, might have been right at the end of regulation, but the guy has just been known to be an offensive defenseman, right? So I think at 4,100, you can definitely consider him. But I think White Cloud is always in play since Pietrangelo has been out. If you go down here, I really like my 2 favorite value defensemen are going to be Alex Goligoski. Been playing a ton of ice time. You see 25, 25, 21, 21. He's had the block shot bonus in his last 3 games. So I think in a game where we know that Colorado's going to just shoot a ton, as they always do, that Goligoski's like block shot bonus is firmly in play, right? And then you have Justin Hall, who is, also playing consistently around 20, 22 minutes, has some decent peripherals, but has even lately been more a part of some of the goals. He's got 3 assists in his last 2 games. So I think he can definitely be considered at 2,800. So I think those 2 defenders, like, even if you just like considered plugging those 2 guys in, like if you thought about nothing else, right? Let's say you plug them in, and then let's say you wanted to run it back with like MacKinnon and the Colorado stack. And then maybe even use your defender position with Makar. I mean, you still have a lot to work with here. And then let's just say you just plug in Grubauer as the most expensive goalie. 3,200 left per those 2 positions is not really that hard to get to. Or if you want to go a route where you fade Landeskog and you fire in Matthews, then you would have to go cheaper at goalie. So if you went down to, say you went to Dubnyk, then you could make it work if you found 2 guys that were cheap enough there, like Johansson and maybe somebody else. Obviously, you don't have to play Makar here. You could pivot somewhere else, but I think there's a lot of really good ways to go. And I think hopefully, just listening to this video and checking line rushes and really staying in tune with your lineups, I think you can find a star scrubs lineup, which I think is going to be the route I will go tomorrow. Find it fairly easy, honestly, to get what you want. So thanks again for listening, guys. Be sure to check out everything on this channel. Hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to join our premium Discord channel for any sport, we have VIP that covers everything, but you can get in specific rooms as well. MLB starting on Thursday, we'll have showdowns and everything covered in our MLB room. So thanks a lot for listening. See ya.